So, um, I'm Laura Stratford. I coordinate the Greater Lincolnshire Food Partnership. What we're doing here today, we organised this last year, and the response to it from you guys was so overwhelmingly warm, sort of unexpectedly so. And you said that coming to the summit last year gave you a sense of hope under challenging situations. You said it was inspiring and energising and great for networking. You said, we need more of these up and down the country. We said, can we do this again? So we said, yes, of course. So the purpose of today is very much to build on what we covered last year. And we've put together an agenda that emerges very directly from the ideas that you had last year, the themes that you said were important to you. Food education is a really massive one, and that's a real focus for this morning. You said it feels like what we're doing is a sticking plaster sometimes. So we said, okay, it's really important that we have system change. We can't just continue on the trajectory that we're on. We need bigger scale change as well. So a focus of this afternoon will be, how do we communicate the stories on the ground from the people that we work with to people who have more power to make wider changes? And the other thing is that it's about us, right? Lincolnshire Food Partnership is us. We're the people who are working together towards fairer, greener, healthier food for everybody. And so what we've got on the platform today, and I hope you will love it and be inspired by it. I'm really inspired by everybody that is coming and speaking to us today. So you're going to love them. But also we recognise that there's so much wisdom in the room and at the tables, and that we haven't got time for everybody on the schedule. So we're very, very keen to capture what you have to say. So the final session with Carolina, and I hope people can stay for it, I know some people have got school runs and so forth to go on, is about how do we change the status quo? How do we address the issues together and do that in a way that's cooperative and collaborative and working together for better food for all? So to update you on what's been happening in the network, click slide. I think actually Caroline hasn't arrived yet, and understandably, as it's a bit of an icy day. So maybe we can come back to that slide actually. My picture of Helen didn't, well, it's okay, but thank you. Let me introduce you to Helen first. Actually, Helen, if you give us a wave at the back. A part of capturing what you have to say, we've got Helen to help us here. So she will be capturing on video the things that you want to tell her about your organisation, about the people you work with, about the stories that they have to tell and that you have to tell, about the issues on the ground and the concerns on the ground. You've got the opportunity to speak directly to Helen, and she'll capture it on video, and then we've got this information to sort of pass on. So please take that opportunity, because I know that there's like so much powerful and beautiful stuff going on in this room of people that are present. She will, because the food bank is on in the conservatory this morning, we can't go in there this morning, sorry about that. So catch Helen at the break time in here, she's just set up at the back. Then during lunchtime, what you have to do is go out of the door, walk all the way around the building, and there's a conservatory in the back. And it's actually a really pleasant and peaceful space where you can get to have a good chat with Helen in a bit more peace and quiet. So that'll be a really nice opportunity. And please seize that opportunity today. I'll pass to Laura. Do you want to come and just update on growing from last year?
Hello everyone. Hopefully you've seen me as you've come through the front door. I'm Laura. I work for Lincolnshire Co-op. I'm a senior community coordinator there, but I also sit on the advisory board for the Greater Lincolnshire Food Partnership. So I was involved with last year's food summit with Laura, and we got some amazing feedback. Everyone was very interested in lots of topics that came out of it, but one in particular that I was also interested in was the growing projects. So people were interested in seeing how they could incorporate that into their own projects or work in partnership with growing projects that were already happening out there. So what we wanted to achieve was to arrange some visits, essentially, go and see some of these amazing projects that were happening, Unfortunately, we didn't actually manage to get out to see any last year. So what we're hoping to do after today, and which is one of the reasons why I've asked if you're all happy to receive email updates, is to arrange some of these visits in the new year. So sort of spring, summertime, we'll go out and see some of these amazing projects, get a group of us to go over and take part in some activities, do a little bit of volunteering ourselves and actually learn and see how that we can bring this into our own projects, our own work that we're doing. So watch this space. I'll put together some dates, I'll get some agendas put together, and we'll have a really great time and learn lots in the new year. If anyone has any suggestions of where they'd like to go as well, please feel free to let me know and we'll get something sorted. And that's it, short and sweet from me. Thank you very much, enjoy the day. Who's next?
Well, good morning, everybody. My name's Simon Hawking. I'm Chief Exec for a charity in Lincoln called Acts Trust. I'm just curious, actually, how many people here today were at the summit last year? Just raise your hand. Okay, and for how many then is this your first summit? All right, fantastic. So actually a lot of new people, which is brilliant. And the Food Partnership is an amazing opportunity for us to connect together. Sometimes we're often working incredibly hard in our own towns and villages and cities, doing incredible work and connecting with some amazing and beautiful people. And there's so much that we are learning on our own individual journeys. But coming together as a partnership like this gives us an opportunity to share those experiences with each other, to learn from each other, and hopefully be encouraged in what we're doing. Perhaps coming away from days like today with something new, a new approach to the work that you're doing, and perhaps also coming away from today thinking, I'm really glad I got to share that, because hopefully that's had an impact and influenced somebody else's experience and what they will go on to do. I really loved the summit last year. I found it really great to connect with people. And as Laura explained, one of the great things off the back, from that day was identifying what some of the priorities in the room were that we wanted to focus on. And one of those was the theme of going beyond food, recognizing that food is an important solution, obviously, for when people are experiencing food poverty, but that actually it's not a long-term solution. It's important in an emergency. It can provide that support where it's needed. But we were asking the question, how do we go beyond food as a way to support people that are facing difficult issues around poverty? So off the back of last summit, a number of people in this room gathered together to form a sort of focus group to talk about this topic and to try and unpack some of the best practice and learning from across the network and bring them together as some ideas that we can share. So we're just going to share a slide with you which sort of highlights some of the learning that we did, which we hope will be really helpful for you. And shortly at the end of this session, there'll also be an opportunity for everyone in the room to share your news from what's going on in your area and also talk about what you found as good practice for this. So we recognize that provision is the starting point for many people. When someone is facing an emergency with food, we don't want to put too many hurdles in the way. As a network, we want to be able to get people access to food as quickly as they can when they need it so that nobody is going hungry. And that's what many of us in this room are doing. We're ensuring that people don't have empty plates in the evenings for themselves and their families. So it's so important that we are able to provide support in emergency. And one of the things that we began to unpack and discuss and think about is, what are perhaps some of the alternatives to that emergency provision? Are there ideas of projects and services of good practice where there are some really fantastic alternatives? And some of the ones that were highlighted as good examples across the county are both food alternatives and non-food alternatives. The rise of community groceries, for example, and pantries across the county as an alternative to food handouts, where people can come and pay for their food and choose their food as they would in an ordinary shop, where they can actually have that dignity of an ordinary shop and feel like they're actually contributing and paying for it, but still have that choice and support. And there's a number of pantries that are springing up where they're taking surplus food that would have gone to waste, that has been rejected by a supermarket or would have been turned back into the soil in the farms. And so they're being able to access these food at low costs in pantries and supermarkets and groceries and get that food support that they need. And you may even in this room have some ideas of alternatives to food handouts, but also non-food alternatives. For example, I've seen a number of food banks across the county having great strategic partnerships with charities like Citizens Advice, where they're having actual financial advisors coming to their sessions to be on hand in the moment to be able to meet with people who need support. And that's really important because actually for some people, it's, and you all understand this and you would have seen this, it can feel like a huge ordeal sometimes to come to a food bank, to raise the courage to go there and ask for help. And then to be told there's also somewhere else you can go. It's, you know, down the road, round the corner, or maybe it's in the next town along. But if there was somebody in the room as well, an advisor who can come and be in that place, then you can do a warm handover in that same space as a safe handover. And that's a really good alternative. It's enabling people to perhaps learn about benefits that they weren't aware of, that they're entitled to, or other income maximization things. Coming down the line, we also unpacked and talked about the importance of community and how many of our food banks and places that we're meeting with people, it's not just about provision of food, but it's also a place where people are finding friendship and community. And how important that is in someone's journey for receiving support. There are places where they can create positive peer connections with people who perhaps have got similar experiences to themselves, have been on a similar journey. A place where people feel like, oh, I'm not the only one in this situation, I'm not alone in this, there are others too, and people can provide that mutual support for each other. And also positive role models, people who can be there to encourage and help to encourage people, and also to help to raise their aspirations, that there is hope, that we can imagine a better future for ourselves, and we don't have to just accept the way things are now. Things can be better. And so community building is so important. It's bringing people together and recognizing it doesn't have to start and end with food, but we can use our spaces as places to build friendship and community. And then, of course, we also discussed and unpacked in this focus group about what happens next, comprehensive services and signposting, which is where we're working together for an end for the needs of food banks. It's really important to acknowledge that we can't do everything ourselves, but actually, as a network together with other charities and fantastic organizations, there is support for many different things, whether that be debt advice, or training, or job clubs, or money advice. There are a network of great organizations and services that we can tap into if we can be prepared to network and work together for that. And that's really important to ensure that our support for people is holistic. It's not just about one topic or one food. And there's a really great phrase that we've borrowed from the NHS, which is no wrong door, which basically says that wherever you come and you're asking for help, you've never come to the wrong door. Because even if you can't access that particular type of help right there and then, we are all geared up and networked enough that you've come to the right place, because we can help you connect to those things that are important to you. And one thing that we've explored in different places is the use of needs assessments, where you guide people through a simple needs assessment to help them understand perhaps what it is that they need support with. And to perhaps think about what the root causes are of why they might have needed to come and access one of our food banks or services in the first place, and then empower them to overcome them. So it's not just about us fixing people's problems for us, but giving them the tools and resources that they can overcome them for themselves and be empowered to do so. And so we felt this is a really helpful model. We need to focus on provision, but we need to be building community, and we also need to be thinking about that holistic support of what else is needed to support people. Thinking about potential alternatives, thinking about being able to create space to raise aspirations, and also space to be able to dig down into those root causes. And then finally, really, is just asking ourselves the questions: where are the gaps and the overlaps? And these are really good questions that perhaps something that we can discuss on our tables today is thinking, actually we're hearing a lot of common stories that people coming into our place are saying, and we're finding there's a gap because nobody is really able to provide this support. So a question that we can ask ourselves is, what are those gaps where actually we've identified a need that's not being addressed anywhere? And is there something that we together as a network can do something about that? And also, where are the overlaps, where perhaps we've got 2 or 3 of us working in the same place that are doing the same thing, and recognizing, oh my gosh, we're not talking to each other, we're not sharing ideas with each other, and actually we're just duplicating the effort. When if we were a bit more smart about working together and talking together, then perhaps we can double our impact with supporting people. So that's why networking like this is so important, being in a room together, because we begin to learn what those gaps might be, where we're hearing the same stories and there doesn't seem to be a solution, and we've identified a gap that perhaps we need to work on filling. But also, can we identify those overlaps where we're duplicating some effort, and by connecting together today with people who are in the same patch as us, we can begin to overcome them. So I think we'll have some discussion time in a moment, won't we, Laura? It'd be great for you to be able to think this through and what you might be experiencing, seeing in your patch. But I'll hand back to Laura, who, may I say, Laura, it's her birthday today. There you go. Right, there we go. Round of applause. There's no singing. Happy birthday.
Thank you. I would like to introduce you to Caroline Kenyon. And those of you who weren't here last year, I'm really sorry that you didn't hear all the details about this, because it's just an update today on what was a post-war project, British restaurants. It's being revived in places, and Gainsborough, I don't know if you've got a slide of the yeah, you have. Is in progress in Gainsborough. Caroline, can I hand over to you? Caroline is the chair of the Greater Lincolnshire Food Partnership. Is a massive support to me and much appreciated.
Happy birthday, Laura. So, almost last, but hopefully not least into this room. Yes, so I'm Caroline Kenyon, and it's a great honour to chair the Greater Lincolnshire Food Partnership, of which Laura is the beating heart and the engine. So you are the most fabulous friend to this county, Laura. We're really lucky to have you. Just to say, firstly, it's lovely to see so many of you here, and I'm sure I'm not alone in saying that global and national news is so dispiriting, and having been a news junkie all my life, even I am turning the news off now. It's too unbearable. But to walk into this room that's full of warmth, not just physical warmth, but spiritual warmth, and to be in a room with people who all want to make the world a better place is so heartening. So thank you all hugely for coming. And Laura, I might be repeating what you have said earlier, but a huge thank you to all our partners today, Lincolnshire Community Foundation, Lincolnshire Co-op, which is just such a friend to this county. I think it's the most wonderful organisation, and I had a really inspiring conversation with Alison Hands, who's the relatively new chief executive, and the Lincolnshire Co-op's ambitions for this county over the next 5-10 years are inspirational. So again, we're really lucky to have them. Any other partners for today that I should mention, Laura, because I haven't got my piece of paper in front of me? Axe Trust. Axe Trust, Simon Hawking, again, inspirational figure who does so much holistic work in Lincoln. Simon, your ears must regularly burst into flames because I mention you and your work wherever I go. And I am involved in the area of food also at national level. Transparency, I am involved with the Liberal Democrats, and I've been advising the party and helping with their manifesto on issues relating to food and food poverty over the last couple of years. So Simon, thank you for everything that you and your amazing team do. So just to tell you a little bit about this British restaurants pilot, and some of you may have heard me speak a year ago. We have made tortoise-like progress since then, because it is ambitious. For those of you who didn't hear me speak last year, British restaurants were a World War II phenomenon, and essentially they were a network of over 2,000 restaurants throughout the country, and they were providing hot, freshly cooked, nutritious, and very affordable food for everyone. So anyone from a Duke or a Dustman would go to a British restaurant and know they get a really lovely hot cooked fresh meal and just be in a place of warmth and community. I'd never heard of these restaurants, and I was told about them by a remarkable woman called Anna Taylor of the Food Foundation, and some of you may know of the Food Foundation and their amazing work, which I think if you don't know of them, you will remember the campaign that Marcus Rashford led during the pandemic, when school children from the most disadvantaged backgrounds were not going to be given food over the summer. And Marcus Rashford and the Food Foundation worked together and essentially shamed the government into doing a U-turn. So the Food Foundation does really good work in this area. And it was Anna who told me about the British restaurants. And she said, wouldn't it be wonderful if we could bring them back? And that lodged in my brain, but as I'm sure you'll know, there's always a right time for these great ideas. And then it reoccurred to me, because I'm sure I speak for us all, but one of my absolutely favorite things, if you said to me, Caroline, what is your favorite thing to do? I would say probably cooking and eating with my family and friends. It's just that community of food, that pleasure of eating good food together. I think that's what gives me almost the most joy in my life. And I thought, wouldn't it be wonderful if we could recreate these British restaurants? And British restaurant sounds such a sort of formal, old-fashioned and rather dated name. But I was thinking about it, and I thought, how do we make this work? It's such a sort of huge ambition to achieve. And then I thought, well, you have to have a pilot. And it occurred to me that Gainsborough could be a really suitable place for a pilot. I connected with some of my Liberal Democrat mates on the new, relatively new administration and the district council, because they won the council with a majority of 1. But as they always say about politics, the important thing is being able to count. And I spoke to Leslie Rollings, whom some of you may know, long-standing district councillor, and I said, look, Leslie, could we look at doing a pilot here? And I didn't know that her son was a chef, so she's really interested in food and community. She used to be a teacher. I said, I think it's great, come and meet the leader of the council, Trevor Young. So I did, and the council got enthused, and then ACES Housing also got very enthused. So we now are a little troop of people, but it is a bit like herding cats, because everybody, don't need to tell you, everybody is stretched to the limit. We're all doing 3 people's jobs. So we've made some rather glacial progress, but the critical thing is that we have now found a building. Oh, it's gone. But if any of you know Gainsborough, it's a really lovely town. It's a small town, but I suppose you could say post-industrial. And like so many of our towns around the county, and indeed around the country, the banks are empty. They've been closed. So this is the old NatWest. And I was doing a bit of a sort of late night trawl of the internet, and I thought, that looks amazing. It needs to be central. That when you're trying to do something like this, there need to be no barriers in front of people as to how they can get there. So I thought the more central, the better. People can walk there, passing footfall, all of that. So emailed around my little troop, said, what do you think of this building? Shall I arrange a viewing? So we've now had 3 viewings. We've taken a builder around twice. It is absolutely sensational. When you walk in, you have the most uplifting feeling. It's got a domed roof. It's huge. It's pillared in the central hall. And there are many, many rooms off the main banking hall and above, where there could be all sorts of community groups, whether it's scouts or counselling or a creche or whatever. And so our imagination was really sparked by this. I will say that the agent is not the most straightforward person, and the owners are, it's obviously a commercial property company which has been snapping up these beautiful buildings around the country, and they own at least a dozen of them. The asking price is ludicrously inflated. They want over £600,000 for a building that needs a lot of work to make it usable for our purposes, but it's got the space, the grandeur, and the location. When I say grandeur, I think what I want is for people to walk in there and feel, oh, isn't this magnificent? I'm so happy to be here. And we can really envisage it. We want to have an open kitchen where people can see the cooking going on, one huge table and then separate tables if people want to sit by themselves or with their friends. But if you come in and on your own and you want company, it's what, you know, in the gentlemen's clubs in London, they have a club table. So we'd call it a club table. So if you want to go and just chat to people you don't know while you're eating your lovely, freshly cooked food, that we have the club table in the middle. So over £600,000 for this building is almost double what we believe it's worth. So just to sort of, you know, bring you totally up to date, we're now forming a legal vehicle, which again is more complicated than it sounds, because I'm just me, an individual, but then we have people from the council and the very understandably strict laws about them becoming directors of what we're going to set up, which will be a community interest company as opposed to a full-blown charity. And then we need to look for the funding. So I suppose in a way this is an update and a plea. If anybody has amazing or wacky or off-the-wall ideas about funding sources that could help us to purchase the building and then do it up, I'd love to hear. So do come and chat to me afterwards. Come and chat to me afterwards anyway, because I'd love to meet you. But so all I can say is that it's taken us a year to get to this point, to have a little community of people who are as dedicated to this as me, although I'm really the person that's driving it in between running my own business. We've found a building. We know how to go forward. The next stage is the money. So that's where we're up to. Thank you so much for listening. All ideas, all suggestions in any regard, so hugely welcome. And thank you again for being here. It's really lovely to see you all. Thanks, Laura.
Thanks, Caroline. So, we're running beautifully to schedule. Well done, everybody. This gives us about 5 minutes to capture the news from all of you guys. What I'm seeing is you're on tables probably with people that you already know. Last year we had this wonderfully chaotic exercise of everybody relocating based on their geography, and we're not going to attempt that today because it's going to be mayhem. But take the opportunity, if you're on a table with people that you know, let's not bother sharing news with each other that we already know. Take this moment to rejig as you need to. And you've got a paper on your table. Please write on it so we can see your news, because we can't be everywhere at all times. Let us know what's happening in your place, in your community, in your organisation since last year. You've got 5 minutes.